Hi, I'm Eli. Today we're going to talk about the history of music. We're going to talk about what it is, who it affects, and where it originated from. So, first, music is all around us, and everything that the ceiling fan could be music. You just come up with a rhythm in your head, and that's music. The rain could be music, a river, the wind, whatever. Birds chirping could be music. Music has shaped history over the centuries significantly. In every era that has come about, we can see that every area of music has affected what music is today. So it's also shaped cultures significantly. Like cultures honor their dead with music. Every country I can think of has a national anthem, and that inspires patriotism. Music brings out emotions in people that normally you wouldn't just go about having. Music brings people together. They have music at parades. They have music at parties. Um, I chose this topic because I love music, and music has played a really significant role in my life. Every time I've been through like a rough spot or just a bad time, I've always had a song, and the reason for that is because for me, music it opens up doors, especially like I only listen to Christian music. I'll go in my room and I'll turn on music and I'll just start worshiping. I'll start praying, and it draws me closer to God, and that really helps in my time of need, because I know that He's my provider. Um, so it just brings out these emotions in different people, different ways. Uh, Music can be many different things. You could just you could take your shoe and tap it, and that would be music. Some people it's called naturalism, natural music, like the rain, a river, waterfall, birds chirping, stuff like that. That's music to some people. Some people like the electronic stuff, like the keyboards and all that. Um, the way you see music defines who you are, and only you can only you can determine how you see music. Um, no one else can tell you how you see music. For me, that's worship. That's what music is for me. All of it, all the music that's the only music I listen to is Christian, and it's always worship for me. Um, I had a friend one time that said he loves music because you can make it whatever you want it to be. I could sit down with a guitar and I could strum a tune and I could sing about Jesus, or I could sit down and strum the same tune and sing about pizza or anything. And he said that's the reason why he likes it, is because you can take any kind of music and make it whatever you want it to be. Whatever it means to you is what it means, basically. He also says a lot that music is like the window to your soul. The music you listen to, that's how you're gonna feel. Um, so, for me, my testimony, it's I like music a lot, and I'm a Christian. I love God more than anything, and I thought it was pretty cool because I like music, and then I just ended up on the worship team, like out of a random set of circumstances, and I just thought that was really cool how that worked out. Uh, Music affects many different people in many different ways. So, who does it affect? Well, some people, like I said, honor the dead. A lot of churches use music for religious purposes. Whether it's religious or secular, music and people just kind of go hand in hand. They click, because it's been around before, man. Like I said, and otherwise, I mean, there's a form of music called patriotism, and that's what every national anthem is. And why would the national anthem be music instead of just like it could be anything else? Why is it music? It's because like I said, it inspires emotions that normally wouldn't be there. The history of music. Um, a lot of scientists believe that music's been around before man, such as like the wind and the and rivers and waterfalls and birds chirping and stuff like that. But they believe that when man came about, the first musical instruments was probably percussion, like stones and sticks, for example, or the beating of drums. Around 4000 BC, Egyptians created the flute and the harp. And around 2500 BC, Denmark created the trumpet, a form of the trumpet. From the 6th to the 16th century, known as the Middle Ages, marks the first use of musical notation and the first use of polyphonic type music. Now there was two types of music in Middle Ages, and it was polyphonic and monophonic types. There was the Gregorian chant, and then there was plain chanting, which is people singing or chanting, but without like instruments being played. And you saw that a lot in Roman Catholic churches. That's all they did. For a period of time, the only music allowed in church was Gregorian chant and plain chant. But then the 14th century changed everything. We saw a rise in secular music, and that led to the era of the Renaissance. When Renaissance means rebirth. So in the 16th century, the church could hardly contain their religious, I call it their religious rules, because the Roman Catholic Church was huge. They were basically the law. And they didn't allow secular music hardly at all in the church, but hardly at all in the streets either. But they could hardly contain that anymore, and therefore composers in this period were able to bring about a new era and change the world and change the way people see music. We saw an increase in instruments in that time. And then during the Baroque period, Baroque is also an Italian word. It's an Italian, it comes from the Italian word barocca, which means bizarre. So this was a bizarre type era. We saw an increase in operas, which was just music and plays at the same time. We saw homophonic music come into play, which is homo means same. It was the melody and the harmony was the same. They went hand in hand. We saw the invention of the violin, the double bass, the harp, and the oboe, and this era lasted from 1700 to 1750. And then that ushered in the classical era, which was from 1750 to 1870. We saw an increase in sonatas, which were just simpler melodies. The piano was the primary instrument used during this period by far. This was also the era that Mozart wrote his first symphony, and it was the era that Beethoven was born. After that was the Romantic era, which lasted from 1800 to 1900. We saw more expressive story-like music, whereas the Classical era was more strict and they stuck to the rules. Romantic era was more, I'd like to think of hippies. They expressed themselves and it was almost like that every song told a story. We saw an increase in wind instruments, and the saxophone was invented. Later on in the 20th century, we saw an increase in performance music, like operas. We saw an increase in technology music, excuse me, such as instruments like the dynamophone, the theremin, and the ondes martrat. The 20th century also included the Impressionism, 12-tone system, Neoclassicism, jazz, serialism, chance music, which they'd like throw a bouncy ball inside the piano and then start playing. And then also electric music and minimalism. So that's the history of music.